guys, this is actually a a a mixed news story. It's not necessarily bad. It's definitely not necessarily good. But given the current climate and temperature of things, I suppose we should be glad that this particular incident involving police coming and pointing guns at a person experiencing a mental health crisis, I guess we should be glad that this incident that I'm about to share with you did not end in a murder. Fortunately, thank you, God. Will pop up that article for me if you could, because this happened in Seattle. Big up to our Washington State contingent, Anna and Mama Lorraine and others. My guy Schultze, one hundo. Schultze's out there. Hey, thank you so much, Bear, for your super chat support. Say, love this channel. Thanks for doing this work. Thank you, Bear, for coming through. We see your $2, Bear. We will take that $2 with gratitude and appreciation. Thank you so much for your support. So this story comes, like I said, from Seattle. And it was reported to have been in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. Now, let me say this. I don't know much about Seattle. I assume, like most major cities in Seattle, Seattle is undergoing a gentrification in which there were Black areas of the city where Black residents are being pushed out of, usually by white folks, right? So, ironically, in Washington, D.C., the Capitol Hill area, believe it or not, used to be a Black area. The Capitol Hill neighborhood, let me be clear. The Capitol Hill neighborhood is Afra in here. Afra will tell you. The Capitol Hill neighborhood in DC used to be majority Black. Like it was Black people living and owning a lot of those row homes, those big Victorians. I'm wondering if Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood is somewhat similar. But so we got the piece up. This piece comes from the Capitol Hill News. And again, this is Capitol Hill, Seattle in Washington State. So, what we're going to be privy to is a situation where a young man, let me back up, a situation where the police responded to 911 calls reported to include gunshots and people yelling or someone yelling outside. So the Seattle police respond to the area. I think it's 12th and Mercer, Seattleans, Seattleites. I don't know what they call people from Seattle. Satalatonians. I don't know. Y'all people from Seattle, 12th and Mercer. Where is that? I know I just told you where it is. It's in Capitol Hill. But anyway, so the police respond to this area where people have called the police. And what they encounter is, I'm assuming, a young Black man. And we're going to see the video. And listen, we're going to watch this video together. And let me preface this by saying that fortunately, everybody survived this incident. The young man and the young person in question here was not harmed by the police, but primarily the reason he was not harmed is because his neighbors came to his aid. And we're going to pick it up from there. So that's the backstory of this. I want us to look at this video that was captured by one of the neighbors, and a content warning. Because again, even though I'm telling you that the person survived this encounter with the police, the moments that we're about to watch, from that person's perspective, that was probably not an assurance. That was not a guarantee. This young person probably was afraid for their life that they were going to be murdered by the police, like so many other people, mostly Black folks, when they've been experiencing a mental health crisis and the police are called to their location, they end up dead. So I want us to look at this video, guys. This is going to be about 3 minutes, but it's all very compelling. And again, I started to watch it and I stopped and I said, I think I want to react to this in the moment with everybody else as we're watching this simultaneously. So let's take a look at this video. Again, it was captured by one of the neighbors of the young person who was experiencing a mental health crisis. And I believe the video is going to pick up with the police screaming commands at this person. They have the individual has a phone, I believe, or a Bluetooth speaker, has something in their hand, not a weapon though. Definitely they were unarmed. and the police are escalating and antagonizing the situation, but listen to the way that the neighbors intervene when they see what's going down. Let's take a look.
Oh my God, I'm so confused. Like, what are they even talking about? I don't have no weapon, sir.
He's holding a phone.
I have no weapon. This is a speaker. I don't have anything on me.
Then walk towards us.
These guys I don't have anything on me. I have nothing.
Get out of there.
What?
He's not holding a gun. I'm not afraid of
The
you.
person? What are you talking about?
We're much more scared of the fucking police in this situation than this guy. Can you guys fucking calm
I don't
down?
have anything on me.
Calm the fuck down. He has nothing on him.
I have nothing on
He
me.
has nothing on him.
I don't have anything on me. What are they talking about, Mom? I didn't even fucking do anything.
Hey man, just come here. You don't have a gun, come here with your
I
hands
can't
up.
even see anything, man.
I know I can't see anything either.
Do you want me to walk up with you, man?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk up with you, okay?
Bro, I'm just getting on the ground. I'm not even walking anywhere, bro. They're aiming guns at me. They're aiming guns at my brother. Calm down, bro. Bro.
Oh God.
They don't care if you have a gun. Oh my fucking God, this is crazy. The community doesn't care because my brother didn't do anything. And they literally just had guns literally aimed at my brother. These cops had guns aimed at my fucking brother in Seattle because I'm giving me a flight. I'm leaving tomorrow. Y'all just tried to assassinate my brother, bitch. Talking about shots? Oh, y'all don't care, bitch.
Walter. Walter. Back out.
Very emotional scene there. And I know everybody, if you watch this show, you guys know we see this and we talk about this quite often about how when black people particularly are experiencing a mental health crisis, the worst thing you can do is call the police on them. That is not what happened here, though there was seemingly some misunderstandings between whomever called 911 and the information that was relayed to the police and what was actually transpiring there in the moment. And you guys, that young man was so close to being murdered. And looking at it, you're like, well, wait a minute. Well, he said he wasn't armed. He got down on the ground. None of that shit fucking matters. These police have murdered people who were complying with their direct orders. They have murdered people who were laying on the ground. They have murdered people who had their hands in the air. They have murdered people who have tried to assert that they were not armed and not a danger to the police themselves. And Black people have died, a lot of them, under those exact circumstances. That young man was simply moments away from becoming a hashtag. And to be honest, you know, but for his neighbors, the people that came out, the white folks that came out, the man who said, I will walk up to the police with you, because whether consciously or unconsciously, the white man knew that he stood a very less likely chance of being shot by the police, even with guns drawn. He knew that those cops are not trained to shoot white folks. They are trained to shoot Black people, quote unquote, acting out, right? Being loud, being what that young man was, which, by the way, the young man was fully entitled to have an emotional outburst. There's nothing against the law. Oh, by the way, hold on. We'll pop up the article again from the Capitol Hill news service, because there are some supplemental details that I think are very relevant here. So let me read from the article. So according, again, this happened in Seattle's, I'm assuming, the East Precinct. According to East Precinct radio updates, police had been dispatched to the area after 911 caller reported gunshots, and a second caller reported two shots, along with somebody yelling, quote, everybody is going to die. But people at the scene told police that there was no shooting and that there was no gun. Only a young person in a yellow sweater, upset and suffering a crisis. So what is so the so-called gunshots that 911 callers reported was actually the young man slapping a stop sign, right? He came out of his home or came out of the residence. He was upset. He slapped the stop sign a couple of times, and he had his Bluetooth speaker with him, and he was listening to music. So there were no gunshots. There was nobody screaming, everyone's going to die. Okay. But when the police appeared on the scene, oh, and by the way, the neighbors also reported they did not see him holding any weapon. He wasn't armed, period, point blank. Quote, so according to radio updates, officers at the scene reported that bystanders were, quote, actively hindering their response and asked for permission to back down. Quote, we're going to go ahead and disengage, one officer says, confirming the response, confirming in the response that there was no victim and there was no shell casings in the area, only about, quote, 20 bystanders with four surrounding the suspect. Come on. This is what the fuck I want to see. I want to see this. I want to see the community step up and get in the way of police potential violence and brutality. And as you can see, the young people, the young person whom the police were screaming at, their relative, these people were very clearly distraught and traumatized by that incident. I mean, shit, I'm still traumatized. But when the fucking cops came and pointed guns at my dog, okay? Like I can't quite explain to you if you've never had that happen. And I'm certain there are people watching this show that have absolutely had that happen to them. And then there are people watching this show who have absolutely never had that happen to them. So let me tell you, when the police specifically come and point guns in your directions, it is terrifying. It is terrifying, and it is a moment that you don't soon forget, because time slows the fuck down. So I can only imagine what that young Black man was thinking, what he was experiencing, because he knows more acutely than the rest of us, trust, that He could very easily have become a victim, become a hashtag, or even worse. You understand that there are people in this country that the police kill whose names we don't know, whose names we never find out. Probably worse than becoming a hashtag of police murder is to never become one, is to be so far in obscurity that nobody even raises the issue of how police came to kill you. So the police, in turn, Seattle police provided a statement, and I'm not going to read it. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read it. And it's not because I don't want to get both sides of the fucking story. I don't need both sides of the fucking story. I saw exactly what the hell happened thanks to a very good Samaritan who had common sense enough to start running video, because they know that the police will lie, they will escalate, and they will overreact in a situation. But to sum up the police statement, basically, they were trying to place blame on the victim, saying that, they really believed that there was a shooting incident that had taken place. The person that they have found was upset and they were trying to defuse the situation, which clearly the fuck they were not. So I wanted to point out, you know, for people who are considering relocating to the city, I'm speaking about people, gentrifiers. I'm talking about gentrifiers specifically. Please come there to the former hood of where you are moving to or where you hope to move to, and understand that there is a whole community there that existed way before you spent too much money for your house. Okay, there's a whole community that has been there, and while they have been there before your neighborhood became desirable and attractive to those outside of that community wanting to move there for, I don't know, I don't even know, why do white people move to the hood? Is it because it's cheaper? I don't know. Regardless, but be aware of the power that you have. Right, you have the power truly of life and death in your hands, because the police obey white people's wishes and desires, particularly if they're property owners or business owners or whatever. Like, those are the input who is valued in the eyes of the police. So in the same way, gentrifiers for bad can make the block hot by calling the cops on their neighbors for being out on the stoop or playing the music loud or doing, being black, just being black in the same space. Um, that power can also be reversed, and you could use it for good instead of for fuckery. Those white folks had presence of mind to say that to the cops that you all are making this a more dangerous situation than this young man is. We are more afraid of you instead of him. Tell them people that. They need to hear that to their face from those in the community whom they value, right? Like, not to say it would change, but in instance by instance, it could affect the outcome, as it did in this particular situation. They spoke up, they said, back the fuck up. They put their body next to this young man. They were continually challenging the police and their bullshit assertions. And that's what it's going to take. You want to talk about allyship? That's allyship. Get between the police and the black people, okay? Get between the police and the black people if you really care. Now, if you don't give a fuck, then call the cops when people start talking loud out in front of your window. Do that dumb shit, but do not do that dumb shit, please. But I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge um the actions of these neighbors, okay? And I know, and y'all know I don't like to give white folks too much credit. I like that. You can't give white people too much credit, because much like these men, it'll go to their head. Okay, like they're like, no, they'll start walking around with T-shirts that say "ally" on it. No, please don't do that. Don't do that. But I have to give them credit, because they could have not did or said anything. They could have sat there and let a police brutality incident take place directly in front of them. They could have shut the fuck up. They could have been good moderates and good centrists and good liberals and let the quote police do their job, right? But at least those people in that neighborhood had the presence of mind to understand that whatever the police showed up there to do, it was not work. It was not anything that was going to benefit or protect or save or serve the community in any way. They were there to be antagonistic. They were there for a confrontation. They were there to shoot if need be, or even if didn't need be. They were there to kill somebody. They had the guns out, pointed, aimed, cocked, loaded, ready to go. They were ready for something. And but for the white folks intervening, that something may have gone down in a very, very bad way for those young people there. So, shout out to the Capitol Hill neighborhood. Um, don't don't gentrify your black neighbors, but if you see the police engaging in some fuck shit, put on remember that you are white out here and assert your whiteness. Assert your fucking whiteness. The police listen to white people, especially if they don't know that y'all are leftists. Don't go out there with your Che Guevara shirt on. Change your shirt before you go out there and talk to the police. So they think that upstanding, respectable white folks. But seriously, no, our leftists, our radical white friends, go in between those uniforms, those costumes, if you will. You know what I'm saying? If you got to put on respectable white person in order to stop white supremacy in a particular moment from falling like an anvil onto the head of a black person or a brown person, do that. Pretend to be respectable white person for a moment. You know what I'm saying? To talk to the police or tell the police to back the fuck up or whatever. Whatever works. But yeah, do that. Use your whiteness for good.